All right, guys, welcome back to the On the Pursuit Podcast. And on this podcast, we work with entrepreneurs, movers, shakers, business people, anyone that is making waves in On the Pursuit to make their dreams come true and just make an impact in our world. And on today's episode, we got Jenny Gilmore. She's a wellness mentor who focuses on helping people with mind and body healing. And I'm definitely grateful and I feel privileged to have this opportunity to share with you and connect with you. And thanks for coming on. And, I would just love for you to tell us more about what you got going on and just share your story with our viewers and listeners.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on here, for slotting me in and taking some time to just sit and chat and explore these things. So a little brief history of kind of how I got here. I was I was in the service industry for the past 20 years and had gone through some hardships as we all do. I lost my father almost 10 years ago now. It's going to be 10 years in March, and was going through kind of a really dark time. And I started going to yoga, and so started doing a lot of movement-based healing. Was tapping into like meditation, reike, obviously nutrition, Ayurveda is kind of tied in with that as well. And it was obviously a process. It didn't happen overnight. But I started noticing these changes and started making better life choices for myself. So fast forward almost 10 years now, and I'm at a position now where I want to be helping people that are maybe struggling with mental health, addiction, loss or grief. And the best way I know how to do that is from my own personal experience. So modalities that have helped me, I want to put that out into the world. So I'm a registered yoga instructor, Reiki level 1 and 2 healer. And so, yeah, that's what I want to put back out into the world.
So what actually led you to discover those modalities? What was it? I mean, clearly you said you was going through some things and you lost your dad, and I lost mine too. So I definitely can empathize with you on that. But I guess it was clear that you felt like you needed something. So what was it about those modalities that you was like, you know what? Let me get into this yoga thing. What is this Reiki all about? So how did you get into the things that you got into to heal yourself, and then what kind of led to the next?
So, in all honesty, I hadn't been going to the gym for the while, and I wanted to get back into some sort of physical practice. And I had gone to yoga like a bit here or there. And so I was like, okay, I'll start going to yoga. And so I originally went back for a physical practice, and because I wanted to lose some weight. And I had started going to a couple classes, and I found this one teacher that I really liked, and she really encompassed the kind of spiritual side of yoga and was really kind of empowering and talking about like these stories that we tell ourselves, this narrative that goes on in our mind. And I finally had like this aha moment one day in class, and I was like, oh, a lot of this doesn't actually have to do with the physical body, these, emotions that I'm feeling, or these, cycles that I keep putting myself through. This isn't because of my physical body. This is kind of separate. And when I move my body in these ways, there's actually healing properties to that. And it's not just about, can you do a headstand, or can you stand on one leg? And that's when I kind of shifted my focus and wanted to go and do my teacher training for the yoga. And then it kind of started to unravel that way. So once I kind of took that leap of faith and took that first step, then the next step kind of revealed itself. And the universe just puts these beautiful things in our place. And I now know that these modalities were put in my field of view because I'm a healer. So I am here to help people heal themselves. And so I think it was on a yoga retreat that I found Reiki and was just kind of drawn to it. Like there was no kind of, oh, I'm going to do this next. It was like, oh, this is interesting. What's that about? And the more I got interested in it, I was like, yes, I want to go and find out about that. I actually had never had a Reiki session when I went and did my level 1. I was just like, I know I need to be doing this, and I'm going to go figure out how to do this. And it was actually, I was talking about it with a coworker, and I said, yeah, I want to do something local. I want to try and find a Reiki master. I said, your wife's into meditation and stuff like that, isn't she? He goes, actually, she's a Reiki master as well. So that kind of like linked. And again, it's just those steps and just trusting in those gut feelings and trusting that we're here for a purpose, and all of these things will unravel at the right time.
So for those that are watching and listening that may not understand what Reiki is, could you give a little bit more context of what is Reiki healing?
Yeah, so Reiki is a ancient Japanese modality. It's a healing system that goes in and balances, if you've ever heard of chakras. So they're energy centers within our body. And when they're out of alignment, they can kind of wreak havoc on our daily lives, mentally, physically, emotionally. And we go in and balance those centers so that we can live a more balanced life.
And how's it done typically?
So generally you would go and see a practitioner, and a lot of times it's on like a massage table, or I go to clients' houses sometimes if they're more comfortable in their own space, in their bedroom, like it's laying down. And you're awake the whole time. And basically, as I said, there's 7 chakras within the body. And I use my hands to go over those energy centers and to find places that are out of alignment. And it's just moving energy. So if there's blockages in certain points, sometimes I'll use vibrational sound. Crystals are used sometimes, breath work, to move that blockage and to allow the channels to flow. And so when the channel is clear, basically that's your connection to source, the universe, so that when that is clear, you can, again, live a more connected, fulfilled, balanced life.
So where would somebody go? Like you mentioned, you do house calls and stuff like that. But if someone has no idea that these modalities exist, they may be feeling some pressure. They may know something is a little bit off. Like, how could somebody discover some of these things? Like your journey started from like you said, you wanted to get some movement. You wasn't going to gym. You got back into yoga, and then as that journey unfolded, you kind of went along and picked up more and more things, and you got into more and more things. But if like someone has no idea that these things exist, what would that person do? So like if someone is maybe, like I said, feeling some pressure for whatever is going on in their lives, what's available to them that they could probably incorporate themselves if they have no idea that, these modalities exist?
So a good place to start is either like at a yoga studio, or I know chiropractic studios, or like a wellness center. Anything that's dealing maybe like a natural path, something that's kind of outside of the medical field, somewhere that is dealing with alternative medicine or alternative modalities of healing. So it could be one of many places. And I mean, we have this amazing thing at our fingertips, this internet. So a lot of times, a general search in your area, Google, you can kind of find in your area where those practitioners might be practicing at that time. And it's generally like with anything, you're going to find, or you're going to flock to your people that you kind of resonate with. And so someone that makes you feel comfortable, someone that you feel safe with, is generally a good practitioner to be going with. And yeah, that's probably how you go about it if you had like absolutely no clue.
And is there other side of it? Like, because everything that you're explaining now, if someone was off with the energy, or maybe they are feeling pressure, maybe there's some depression, or whatever they're dealing with, is there another side to it as like if someone that is if a practitioner is performing, and like if their energy is off, or like if they're not doing things a certain way, what are some things that a potential client or consumer could look out for so they know not just to go with anyone? Because I know that should make a difference, right?
Yeah, 100%. I would say, honestly, go with your gut instinct, especially when you're dealing with energies and things like that. Generally, a practitioner should be kind of separate from the client so that there's no transfer of energy. So any energy of mine is not transferred to the patient and vice versa. So a lot of ways they can protect their energy, saging or crystals, things like that. But I would say kind of your first instinct when you're meeting that person in a one-on-one situation is that vibe you're getting off of them. So a lot of times, if you get along with the person, or again, feeling safe is probably the most important, because it's almost comparable to, like it's a little bit more than like an RMT. So a massage, or you want to feel comfortable, but there's not that energy exchange. Almost, I would explain almost like a therapist, because a lot of times there's like intuitive stuff that is there as well. So it can get a little bit intimate at times. Usually after the session, like you talk about things and any blockages that I would find, I can communicate like ways that you can be removing those blockages in your life. So there are conversations that come up. So you want to make sure that you're feeling really comfortable with that person. So maybe like meeting them beforehand, having like a consultation. I usually do a consultation with my client beforehand, before I do any work, just to see if it's a good fit. So if somebody isn't doing that, maybe suggesting that, or maybe that might be like a red flag, like, hey, maybe I should look for someone that wants to kind of build a relationship, because it's generally not like a one-time thing. My Reiki master and I think we've been working together for like 4 years now. So it's an ongoing process. So you want to build that kind of relationship.
So one of the things that you and I vibed out originally when we met was around food.
Yes.
We talked about food very, very intimately, and we shared a lot of things around food. So can you talk a little bit to that? So on the one hand, we're talking about a lot of the energy transfer, a lot of the recalibration of the energy. You shared a little bit about the chakras and being in alignment. So now we're going to transition over to food. How does food play a role in a situation where people, being in alignment, being centered, being happy, being able to function properly? What would you say to like how, the role of food?
So the best way I describe it to people is, and you've probably heard this analogy before, like if you're going out and you're buying a Ferrari, it's a top performance car. So our body, these vessels, we want them to be performing at their optimal level. So we're not going to be putting unleaded gas in a Ferrari. So if we compare that to like our bodies, the fuel that we put into our bodies, we want it to be of the highest quality, and so that we can be fueling ourselves properly to be performing at our optimal state. I think it's kind of the easiest way I describe it to people.
Why do you think when people are choosing food, why do you think it's not like people are not looking at it that way? Why do you think it's so easy for people to, or why is there so much miseducation around food?
That was the exact word I was going to use is education. I think it starts with education. And I think secondary, what's layered on top of that is our society. So the way that we've evolved as a society, we've now come into, I call it like the instant gratification society. So everything we have is at our fingertips. And in this day and age, we want something better, quicker, faster, stronger, and we want it done yesterday. So with our food, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago, like we would have to harvest the crops, and there was a process of how we cooked our food. And that has all been kind of stripped away, that we have this instant, like we have instant coffee, we have instant food, we have drive-throughs. So there's not as much nourishment going into our food because a lot of it is over-processed. The chemicals that we're spraying on our food to grow them quicker, bigger, is basically poison. And we're putting that into our bodies. But I think, like you said, it starts with education because we only know what we know, right? And it's generational too. So what our parents did is passed on to us and we'll pass on to our kids and so on and so forth.
I think you make a really good point when you're talking about that, because when you're looking at the family structure, most of the time when people are thinking about generational curses, they're thinking about like money. You know, they're thinking about money. You know, like my mom and dad were poor, my grandma and grandpas were poor, the generation before them were poor. I don't want to be poor. I need to break this generational cycle, right? So most people really look at that in terms of money. Another layer, right, is the mindset and the emotions, because you could grow up in a destructive environment, which is going to lend to you potentially creating another destructive environment if you have a family, or even in certain relationships that you have. And then if we go beyond that, if we take those two constructs, and while you're in a destructive or toxic situation, family, and then you're creating your own, you know, destructive and toxic situation, unbeknownst to you, you just were bred in that, so you're just carrying that on. And then you have generational curses, but then all of that is fueled by unhealthy eating. Mm-hmm. It's like a whole nother layer that I feel like people are missing or not paying attention to, because they're not understanding, like you put it so eloquently, if our vessels are Ferrari, Lamborghini, you know, just like high performance vehicles, like, and we're fueling it with low vibrational foods, that's not going to allow us to not only function at a high level, but it's going to contribute to how we act and dictate, you know, how we're feeling. Yeah. Our energy, you know, are we tired and things like that. So why do you think there hasn't been much of a, and maybe there has, but maybe it just hasn't really hit mainstream like that. But why do you think that is not really like a resurgence on breaking the generational curses of like people eating unhealthy from generation to generation in a household?
I think it has a lot to do with society and how it has evolved. For a perfect example, back in let's say the 1950s, when women started to work a lot more, that there wasn't someone home, whether it be the woman or the man, whoever it is these days, the cost of living has gone up so much. We need two people working in a household to be providing, to be putting that food on the table. So a lot of times there isn't someone at home to be cooking those meals. So when we're getting home from our busy schedule, we want something that's just quick and efficient so that we can be getting it on the table. And I think that's a big part of it sometimes we're in single parent families. So when we're passing those things down, and again, this busy culture that we've created, you know what I mean? We don't take the time to slow down, even the way we eat our food, you know what I mean? We're always in a hurry. Sometimes, we're not even sitting at a dinner table. We're sitting in front of a TV, in front of a laptop. All of these things have contributed to, that's, I think, that disconnect. And that's, again, being passed down because we've been so focused as a society on advancing forward in our career, in our lives, in different areas, that we've kind of been disconnected from source and from nature and how to nourish our bodies properly.
So if you're someone that's listening and watching, and you're not super unhealthy, but you're not the healthiest, what would you say to them if they're like, you know what, I need to possibly get a cleanse, or like, I don't really even know what to do. How do I, like, the food that's accessible to me isn't anything that's healthy, like how am I able to make it work for me? What would you say? What should they focus on implementing into their diets or just into their lifestyle?
I think probably the biggest thing is cooking your own food. I think that's probably a really great place to start. Adding more fruits and vegetables, removing major toxins like processed foods, sugars, meats, if you can. These are kind of like the three major things that are kind of destroying our diet, but are three major things that are encompassed in what's a regular diet in society. So I think that would be like a really great place to start, because if you're cooking your own food, a lot of the things that you're finding or cooking with, if they're not coming from a shelf or a prepackaged thing, right there's a really great place to start as like a base level.
So identifying different foods that you're saying are not packaged, are not, are not processed, or, limiting the amount of processed and packaged foods that someone may be consuming or eating, and then implementing more food that might be whole and raw, or that you may be growing or getting from a farmer's market. And so implementing, you're saying implementing more of that stuff, or at least, as much as you can in your current diet.
Exactly.
That should help to like move things in a better direction.
Yeah. And I mean, everything is a process. I mean, we didn't get here overnight. So, I mean, if this is something that you want to be introducing into your life, it's not going to happen overnight. And I think anything that we want to do long term, there has to be a sustainability factor to it. So maybe if that's, one day a week, that you commit to, okay, every Tuesday night, instead of like Taco Tuesday, you're gonna commit Tuesday nights. I'm gonna cook a home cooked meal, and I'm gonna, maybe go to the farmer's market once a week, or, I'm gonna use nothing that's prepackaged one day a week, and start there, and just notice, be paying attention. Notice how your body feels. Notice how the food tastes. Notice like the little changes, and start building from there.
I think the biggest thing that I got from you is like you have mentioned sustainability. So, not approaching it like you need to go from 0 to 100, or start introducing, different things. So like you said, choose a day a week, or, choose a meal a week to start that you may just substitute, or remove something from your diet that, may be a go-to, but it's not the healthiest. Like if you're someone that maybe eats drink soda, maybe you just start there, just, maybe drink less or just replace that. But I think the sustainability is huge, because it now allows someone to think that, okay, it's not a huge overtaking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I could just, Fridays is my day. Fridays, I'm going to, eat vegetarian, or eat raw, eat whole, drink water all day. And then just starting from that, and then just giving yourself a couple of weeks to just see how you feel. And if you feel better, you have more vitality, more energy, then you maybe, add something else, or remove something else, or make that, maybe Friday and Saturday now,
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how you have to. I think, with how busy we are in society, that's also like the other side of it too. We think that everything has to be done yesterday, but like we can do things a little bit slower, and we can add on, in increments. We were talking last time on when we were chatting about like health and food and stuff like that. I was talking about the cleanse that I did, and it's actually
break that down. Tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's actually called, it's the ultimate lifestyle transformation. So it's actually right in like the title of the cleanse. I did 30 days. And basically what it's doing is removing those things that are not supportive to your body, that are toxic, or, not helping you perform at your optimal. And then introducing superfoods, supplementing with vegan proteins, things like this, so that your body doesn't feel deprived. So it is sustainable. So it's not just like a quick fix that like, oh, I did this for 30 days and now I'm going to go back over here. It's something that you're transforming for a lifetime.
So, for those that don't really know, what would you say? What are the superfoods, and what is a superfood?
Superfood is, I would say, probably a high nutrient dense food. So a good example is like chia seeds, kale's really a superfood. Something that when you're eating it, you're getting the most nutrients, getting as many vitamins, as much fuel as you can for yourself. And there's a lot of these foods on the planet they're now called superfoods, that have all of these amazing attributes to them that were kind of just, I don't know, I just found out about them like the past 5-6 years, that I was like, really? That's all in one little thing? Or, we've been led to believe like, oh, drink a lot of milk because it's full of calcium. But like in a spoonful of chia seeds, you can get like, I don't know what the percentage is, but your daily intake of calcium, like you can get a massive percentage in chia seeds. You know what I mean? And you're like, nobody ever told me that. So it's been a pretty cool journey, like just exploring and finding these things out as well. And just kind of being like mind blown, being like, oh, wow.
So I wanted to ask you about, the way you may look at like food for healing versus food just to eat, So do you think that the way people are moving in society right now, with, you got all these cancers going down, heart attacks, obesity,
yeah,
things like that. Should people be paying attention to what they're eating in terms of looking for food as a energy and healing property versus just for the pleasure of eating food and feeling full?
Yeah, like beyond 1,000%. Again, I think as we've evolved as society back in, thousands and thousands of years ago, we lived off the earth, and Mother Nature was there as medicinal, not only to feed us, but to heal us. We took plants from the earth and, made something to place on our cut to heal the wound. Same thing that goes on with inside our bodies. And a lot of these things that we're putting into our bodies now, our bodies inside don't even know that it's food. So it tries to like fight it off and tries to get rid of it. So we're not actually getting nourishment from these alternative sources or these mass produced things as well. Things like processed sugar. You talked about like cancer. We all have cancer cells within our bodies. It's just if we start to activate those. So if we're feeding these cancer cells, they feed on sugar. So processed refined sugar, the more of that we're putting into our body over time, mental, physical, emotional stressors, it builds up. And this is how we start fueling these little cancer cells. So it may be, one, and then it starts feeding and feeding and feeding. And until we get to the point where it's actually, disrupting our daily lives, then we go to the doctor, and then we're already at stage 1 to 4. And it's like, well, how did I get here? Well, let's take a look. Let's backtrack. And what does your diet look like? What does your daily stress levels look like? All of these are impacting our bodies on a daily basis, whether we're aware of it or not.
I agree with you I definitely agree with you there. I'm definitely someone that's very conscious of like what I'm consuming. And even if I decide to eat something that, I may deem as not the healthiest or maybe off of what I would normally eat, I like very intentionally then make sure that the next day that I'm back on what I would normally do, or that, I'm drinking way more water, or, so I think you make a great point there when you share that. So I kind of want to transition to a little bit about you and what you do. So as a wellness mentor, how do you focus and help people heal their mind and your body?
So a lot of it, I have a 8-week course that I'm going to be relaunching at the end of start of October, end of September, going into that fall season. And what we start to explore is all of the things that we've been talking about this evening. So that kind of trilogy, that mind, body, spirit connection, because all of them come into factors when we're dealing with depression, when we're dealing with anxiety, when we're dealing with nutrition, when we're dealing with performance, how we want to be living our lives. So I work either on a one-on-one basis or in a group setting, and just start breaking it down from like a base level. A lot of times I use like vibrational charts. So looking into certain vibrations, dealing with meditation, Reiki's involved with that. Different chakras are correlated to different aspects of our daily lives. So all of these encompassed, all of these modalities, I kind of break down over the weeks. And then we apply those to the specific situations that the clients are maybe experiencing in their life at that time, and how those can help navigate kind of issues that they're dealing with.
And how would you say you found this path to be able to be in this space? I find it like very interesting and remarkable how like people end up finding certain pathways and they explore different niches and then they become like authorities and experts in those niches and because that's what you are. So how are you able to like find this place and cultivate that and make it your own and then like share and help people gain wins and have breakthroughs? So if there's someone else that's listening or watching this and they're like, that sounds very interesting, that might be something that I might be interested in. How were you able to find this pathway yourself?
I think it was not I think, I know it's I had to walk through that path, you know what I mean? And I think it's through the process and through going through those trials and tribulations myself and screwing up and messing up a lot and kind of figuring out what worked for me and then starting to share those experiences with people and realizing that as much as we are unique individual human beings on this planet, we're a lot alike in the same ways. We're all looking for love. We're all scared of a lot of things, and we want answers to those things, and we want help, and we want to be heard. So I think that's kind of how I found it, was that on my path and on my journey, these were the things that helped me, and I want to be that person for someone else, and I want to have that accessible to other people, because sometimes, as you were talking at the beginning, like, where do you find this stuff, or how do you come across it? Sometimes it is challenging. So to be putting that out there and making it accessible for people, I think is the way to be doing it.
So outside of your 8-week course that will be coming out soon, when do you say it may be available?
So I'm looking at the end of September, like first week of October.
Okay. So outside of that, if someone wasn't quite ready to jump into that experience, what other products or services are available from you that they could possibly start with?
So we did talk about the cleanse. So I am a brand partner with Purium Health Products. So if anybody's interested in nutrition and getting kind of that aspect back on track first, I do 30-day cleanses. I'm probably doing a group cleanse at the end of this month for just a shorter period of time, a 10-day to reset. As well, doing just one-on-one kind of counseling or coaching for the mindset stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be the full 8-week. We can start slower. And if the timelines don't fit up with those 8 weeks, I do one-on-one coaching. But basically, it's kind of nice sometimes to have that group container that you have a little bit more of support, but one-on-one's always available as well.
That's awesome. So if someone is like for me, it took me a while for me to find my spot, to heal myself, to really get into like the foods that I was consuming, to continue to seek out new information about what I'm currently putting in my body and what I may, learn about that I should be putting in my body. So the best way for someone to start that pathway with you would be that one-on-one call or one-on-one consultation.
Yeah, usually I like doing a connect call, and exactly how you and I started chatting, just like getting to know each other and seeing where people are in their health journey and how I can best support that at that time. Because, something maybe is not even in their field right now, and if we're talking about nutrition or yoga or Reiki, whatever it may be, that might not even be in their realm right now. And, like we said, with anything, we want this to be sustainable. So we start at the baseline and kind of build from there. And on our journey, we figure out what's best to help you on that journey.
Are there any books or maybe workshops or something, anything online that you would recommend someone to start with if they literally, are starting from like the beginning? Where would you point, what direction would you point them in?
A really good place, like super simple, if you want to start kind of eating a little bit healthier as far as like organics and stuff like that. A really good Google resource is every year they release the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So basically, this is like if you're buying organic foods, because I know sometimes it can get really expensive. The most Clean 15 products for that season, for that harvest season, and kind of like the worst of the worst that absolutely you should be buying organic. The other ones you can maybe get away with or kind of pick through. I found that as a really good resource.
So you said the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, if you Google that, you'll be like, oh, okay, because there's certain foods that you're like spending money on. I remember I was spending money on like organic bananas, and it's like you're taking off the peel, so it's not as detrimental as if you're eating, a strawberry or something where that's, going right into the skin, for an example.
So what else would you like to share with the people or have them to know definitely about you, but just in general, like I said, if someone is wanting to take a step, not really sure, obviously they can reach out to you. Mm-hmm. But if they're just curious, like you mentioned the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, or like, what are other resources, or what else would you like to share with our viewers and listeners?
A really cool, it's a little YouTube video. I forget how long it is, but it's called the Science of Water. And
I've seen that one. I saw that.
Yeah. It really puts it into perspective of what we put into our bodies on like a cellular level, of how it can be manipulated or altered with, in the sense. So it goes for our food, for our mindset. So our thoughts are powerful. So I find it kind of talks about water and meditation, but it kind of encompasses everything. It has like vibrational sound in there, the way we speak about ourselves, the way we speak about experiences. So that was usually a good place to start too. It kind of opens your mind a little bit to like, wow, everything is connected. And, what we do here or what we put into this vessel, it makes a difference. It matters, right?
I totally agree with you. I mean, because I'm like, I'm not eating that. I want some of that. No, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you mean. So yeah, I want to thank you for your time and sharing your wisdom, your expertise, a little bit of your journey, and just raising people's awareness of why they need to take their mind and body more serious, but then also pay attention to what they're actually putting into their bodies. And could you please let the viewers and listeners know again about your program? Because I want to make sure that if they're just hearing this pod for the first time or watching the pod for the first time, and maybe they don't know much about you as of yet, but obviously they can tap into your program because there's a lot of like amazing information and life transformational, things packed into it. Tell us a little bit more about that, how they can get connected with that. I would love it if you would do that.
Yeah. So the name of the program, actually, it's called The Divine Climb. And kind of thought of that, or the thought process behind it, again, is that sustainability thing, that this is a climb. This is not an overnight thing, that we're taking steps to be building a better future for ourselves. There's a link on my Instagram that if you're interested in applying, has a link that we can set up a connect call, see if this is something that's supportive to you right now, or if maybe one-on-one or want to start at a base program. We're going to explore different modalities through the weeks, movements, breath work, meditation, laws of the universe, laws of attraction, mantra, movement. I don't know if I said that, like yoga, all of these things, and how they kind of all are encompassing together. And when we connect that mind, body, spirit, that little trilogy, how we can be living a more fulfilled life.
That's amazing. I can't wait till it launches. I'm definitely interested in learning more about it. And where can people find you?
On Instagram, my handle is @itsmejennyg_.
@itsmejennyg_. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jenny, for sharing some time and some space with us here. You already know a lot of the information. Again, like I said previously, that you shared. This is going to make an impact and at least get people to think, which is the main thing that we want them to do. Think about how you're taking care of your body. Think about what you're putting into your body. Think about how you're taking care of your mind, and think about what you're allowing or what you're exposing your mind to, and wanting to be recalibrated and being more balanced and things like that. So I really appreciate you making some time and spending it with us on the podcast. And
thank you.
No, yeah, for sure. And so I'll see you very soon. I'll talk to you very soon. And this is Brendan Boyd and Jenny G with the On the Pursuit Podcast. And I'll see you guys on the next episode.